and know different things, kind of talking about the same thing. It reinforces like why we do what we do. Because some people are believe in CrossFit, some people believe in just yoga, and it's like we know that like we have to be very versatile when it comes to training. The other thing that he really started using Clubbells for was for tactical training. He was in the military. I don't know his military background. I have to look it up. I don't feel like doing that right now. But if you look him up, like he was in the military. I guess he was an operative. But he wanted to come up with some type of training system that we'll call it tactical athletes, fire, military, EMT, like their type of job. They sit around a lot, but then as soon as it's time to go, they gotta go. So tactical training is a big thing, at least for me. I'm certified in tactical training in the NSCA. All the workouts are really fascinating. They're workouts that you could do with your clients, but again, it might not be good for their goals, but it's a good way to kind of vary it up. If you're a firefighter, you're picking up heavy hoses that aren't like perfectly shaped like that, throwing them on your shoulder and running them over here, and you're wearing boots and like heavy gear. So the Clubbell allows you to kind of train people that way because of the degree, he calls the 6 degrees of freedom, which I'll go over in a second. So if you're interested, you can definitely look him on YouTube, like he has old videos there. I got the DVD. I don't even know if people can play DVDs anymore. Like I don't even think mine works on my computer, which is funny. But a lot of his stuff has kind of disappeared a little bit. So if you do find any video or you get the book, you'll get everything you really need. But TACFIT is I think he's putting all his investment in TACFIT. It covers Clubbells, it covers kettlebells. So it's different than Strong First because the kettlebell movements like they do like I'll give you an example, like with the get up. When we do a get up, we teach people to get up from here to here, and then the 7 steps. He does things like this under time, right? So like he gets them to move a little bit more using the weight, and of course it's under time, so that ties into what he's trying to do. Like any certification, to be certified in Clubbells requires you to do something physical. So you go to the certification and then you have to do the physical part. And the physical part, like for Strong First, you have to go and you have to do all the different, you have to demonstrate you have knowledge in all the different movements. We'll call them the big 6, squat, hinge, swing, press. You gotta be able to press a certain amount of weight. It's the same for Clubbells. The Clubbell test for Clubbell Athletics, and that's like, Clubbell Athletics is like a step down from TACFIT, because TACFIT involves the yoga, the flow mobility, and the Clubbell training, whereas Clubbell Athletics was just simply learning the movements that we're going to go over today. But there was still something that was challenging. It was called the trial by fire, and there were 3 big movements using the Clubbells. For men, it was 15-pound Clubbells, and for women, it was 10-pound Clubbells, and you had to do it was a half trial by fire. So for the full trial by fire, it was 100 reps of what's called the double swipe, which I'll show you. Then it was 100 reps on each arm for the one-handed mill, which I'll show you again today. And then you had 50 on each side for the two-handed hand swing. You had to do that in under 15 minutes. So all I remember, it was like a big gym up in New York full of a bunch of people who had, some of them had trained, some of them hadn't. Now I didn't know, like I kind of knew what I was doing, but it wasn't until I went through the certification I felt better. But my forearms were totally jacked up. Like by the end, the one rule as you go between each exercise is not to put the Clubbell down. So you're allowed to like rest it on your shoulders. So it's just a lot of people doing like this and then trying to do these swings that we're going to go over today. So before I have you grab some of the lighter, these are, they're called Indian clubs. I just call them clubs now just because like you don't want to put any type of label on them anymore. So it's just like clubs, like, and even though the Indian clubs or these clubs are really light, they're definitely tools that you can use to introduce your clients to Clubbells. Because once you get them to learn the patterns, then you can actually put the heavy weight in their hands safely. Different certifications we have here. I'm NSCA. What is everybody here? Like, you just yell out what type of certifications you have. Personal training. ACE. CSCS. So that's not. So we always talk about things in the 3 planes of motion. So we have the sagittal plane, which divides us down in half. We We have the frontal plane, so I always say to clients, like, yo, standing against a wall, so it's like slicing you in half this way, and then the transverse, which is like the top and bottom half. So he talked about the 6 degrees of freedom. So what he did was he's like, we don't just move in those planes, right? We also, if you think of a CrossFit, like when they talk about CrossFit, they also talk about how you have to have a good degree of flexion and extension in the spine, because if you have a stiff spine, like stiff thoracic mobility, then you're gonna get injured. So the 6 degrees of freedom allow you to kind of train those things, because that's like how we normally train. So again, the 6 ones are heave, surge, sway, pitch, yaw, tilt, and roll. And if you think about it, it's moving in maybe 1 or 2 planes at the same time. So we have an up-down movement, which again, like in a squat, you would say that would be what plane? Sagittal, right? Splitting down the middle. But then you have a front to back, so a lunge is still sagittal, but now we're moving in 2 different directions. We can do a reverse lunge or a front lunge. Then we have the rotation. He calls it yaw. Just give it and the reason is because in Clubbell yoga they try to use a little bit more holistic. Like that's what the heave, surge, sway.
It's like boat talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he probably, again, when you're creating a certification, you try to give different terms so you're not copying each other. So I think it was kind of like, when I did the Clubbell yoga certification, it was very holistic, like a lot of slow movements, and I'll show you that in a second. So with yaw, it's just rotation, right? Just in the transverse plane, okay? But now we have 2 other ones. We have pitch, which again is still sagittal, but it's, again, now we're starting to take into account the flexion and extension of here. Like we are always trying to get our clients to stay stable, but in movement, we are, like, if you have a client who's hinging with the kettlebell swing, what you need to notice is, are they still in extension or are they in flexion? Okay, so Clubbells can expose that. If you give when I give you a light club, I'm gonna watch how your spine moves. And then we have, tilt or roll. So tilt and roll is here. Now we don't usually move a lot of clients this way, because this is where people end up like doing something to their back. However, we need to be able to move that way, because when do people get injured? We want them to do this. I need you to pick that up. So they go, I want you to turn, and I want you to pick it up. What do they do? And then all of a sudden their backs hurt, right? Because they picked it up in a weird way. They crossed 2 or 3 planes of motion at the same time. So again, Clubbells allow you to train that safely versus like, usually with the kettlebell swing. This is my favorite tool, right? This is my favorite thing to use, but this is probably my second favorite. And what I was saying to Bill Manley was, what I like doing is like on days where I'm doing a lot of swings and I'm just like, I really don't want to do kettlebell swings, but I still want to work on my hinge pattern and maybe address some other things, I'll throw the Clubbell in there. So, okay, great. So let's play a little bit and then we'll kind of talk about programming. So let's do, how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Todd, you're welcome to join. 7. Let's everybody grab, we're going to rotate because I want everybody to have a chance. So these are 3, these are 1, these are 2. It doesn't matter because everyone's going to get a chance to play with the different weights. So like, Melissa, why don't you grab 1, Emily, you grab a 2, Sam, you grab 3, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3. So grab, yeah, that's a 3-pounder. So you want to grab a little one. Yeah, just grab one. Just grab one club. Okay, and then let's just let's put ourselves like we'll have 3 of you in front and then 3 of you in the back, kind of offset so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So the 3 movements taught in Clubbell athletics are the swipe, the mill, and the hammer swing, they call it. But we're going to break it down first. So I'm going to step in here from the side. So I'm going to hold the club here, okay? And in the kettlebell swing, we know we want to what? We're going to teach them how to hinge, okay? So we're going to put the club in our right hand, okay? We're just going to let it fall we want to bring our feet a little bit closer together. We want to let it fall, and we want to think of this as an extension of our arm, right? So I want to make sure that like when I let it fall, that my wrist is nice and straight, okay? And I'm going to hinge okay? And I'm gonna pause here. So you're gonna extend the club. That's it, Scott, good. Pull your shoulders back. And again, this is just, we're just pausing here. And now, remember to get back up, we wanna push through the heels and then bring it back here. So again, all of you very light, right? So let it fall and bring it up. Okay, let it fall and bring it up. Okay, good. So when you bring it to this position, we want to make sure the elbow is tight into the body. Okay. All right. So let's do that again. Let it fall and bring it back up. Now the nice thing about this, and I'll let you play a little bit, is we don't have to just do it in either arm. We can also do it here. So if you see, this also helps our clients learn how to do the kettlebell swing. How many of you have trouble like teaching the kettlebell swing sometimes because the weight's too much, right? They don't understand not to do this, but they can get this. Like this usually helps me teach the kettlebell swing right away. So go ahead and
How do you
play.
put your hands on it when you're doing both hands?
Good question. So for this purpose of this, it doesn't matter, but when we get to the heavier clubs, it will matter. That was a good question, yeah. So again, just play catching it. Just feeling the swing. It doesn't feel heavy for any of you, but I just want you to get it used to. Okay, good spot. That's good, Sam. That's good. All set. And we don't want it to go past, like we don't want it to flip up. We want it to think maybe it just gets past the heel. Okay? That's good. One more pause at the bottom. Pause there. So look at Steve. Perfect alignment. I'm not gonna make him stay like that. We're looking at there's a little bit of extension in the spine. Okay, bring it back up. So what we're gonna be able to do is, it's not like with the kettlebell swing, we know that the shoulders have to be packed, but we don't sometimes ignore what's going on back here. But I can see that we may have some tightness up here that we have to work on. Now, in this position, now we're gonna work on check our shoulder mobility and stability. So I want you to watch me. This is where I want to go. Okay, looks pretty easy, right? Now watch what happens. Now I'm going to tell you where I'm going to try to fix everything, and I'm going to stop where I start to feel my spine change, and it's like right here. So that's my limit. That's where I'm limited here. Now I can force myself back, but you can see my shoulder detaches. So I want you to go ahead and choose whatever arm. I want you to go really slow. There you go. That's as far as you get, right? Where do you feel jacked up, like right in there? Yeah. Yep. And it's good. Put your hand on your core so you can feel yourself. Pull your rib cage down a little bit more. That's right about there. Squat. Right there. So that's pretty good. Put your hand on your core. So yep, see how your body was going back? So you're all bunched up right here. Not your fault, right? Because he's a bodybuilder. Bring your elbow in. Well, again, Eli and I had a good conversation about how clubs would be good for mobility, and you can put the weight down with the weight. But it wouldn't be a good idea for him to do really a lot of swings. Why? People would do
Thickening the waist.
Well, that's for the heavyweight. How about just light?
Oh, for light?
Well, again, if he's like driving this back, it's gonna mess up what this looks like.
Yeah,
Okay, we don't want to mess that up.
long term, yeah.
Right, exactly, long term. So go ahead and bring it up. Cage, it's pretty good. You got a little far, that's good. So again, I would still work on him with that, like mostly because he's still a little bit tight in here, but it's pretty good. Now, I'm gonna transition quickly over to functional movement screen. That's one of the, anybody certified in that? Okay, so the functional movement screen is something that, again, in doing all this, I was doing that all at the same time. Developed by Greg Cook. Greg Cook's phenomenal if you watch any of his videos, and he talks about like just how we need to make sure we're really mindful of our clients' mobility, stability, and flexibility. So I want my clients to swing heavy so that they can build strength, stability, and everything like that. But this tells me right away that I really need to be careful with overhead movements with me, because yeah, I'm going to build up a strong upper body, but I'm not going to do it right, if that makes sense. Like I can press, 35 to 45 pounds, but if my goal was to press one of these heavier ones, it's not going to happen. The reason it doesn't, and that's I actually kind of plateaued at my presses because of my shoulder problems. So the only thing I can do is go back down and work on this. I need to get my elbow here, 90 degrees. I can't right now, okay? But the clubs will help me do that, so I don't feel like I'm having to go back to like PT and like work on that. So that was a little segue. All right, so everybody switch the clubs, so you get a lighter club. Like just switch with the person next to you, just so you get exposed to a different weight. Yeah, if you have the same one, then just give it.
What do you have? 2? I have 1.
That's your
So just play. Just try to catch.
Looks like a bowling.
Yeah, it does. Just do the hinge and catch, and then now add in the overhead. So you can bring it up, catch it here, bring the overhead. Really try to root yourself. Again, no one's feeling tired because it's not very heavy. Yep, and catch it here. Catch it here first. Yep.
And then go over.
Yep. Pause it. Yep. Good. And then swing it down. That's good, Eli. That's good, Dan. So Dan, pause it. Remember, bring it here first. Bring your elbow into your body. Yep. Pin yourself. Good. Now go over. Sit Scott. That's good. Good. All right, everybody put your clubs down on the ground for a second. All right, so what we've done here again is a hinge. And now I want everyone to bring their arms here. Let's everybody just drop down into a regular plank. Okay, so
Plank?
Get regular plank on the forearms. And I just want you to hold yourself tight. So down to your elbows. But don't put your hands together. Put your arms like this. Okay? So what you feel right now, squeeze your glutes. Take a deep breath in, squeeze your abs. What you feel right now, that tension in the body is the same tension you're supposed to have when you come to that position, that guard position here before we go overhead. So again, it's so light you don't feel the resistance, but you're about to do that. So everybody stand. So grab your club, and I want you to create the tension. Like, don't, like, if I throw 100 pounds at Eli, he's gonna brace himself correctly.
Depends how fast you throw it.
But you need to pretend that this is, I want you to pretend that's 100 pounds. Show me 100 pounds. Hinge, and then let's watch Eli, we'll make him do it. Good, pause there, bring it to your body. Put your hand on your fork. Now, I want to take this from you, right? Yes, so he just created the correct tension. So it's really good for feedback. Now hinge and then bring it back into that position again. Good, take a deep breath and go overhead. Pause there. Is the tension still there? Good. Yep, and then bring it back. Excellent. All right, so now there's plenty of Clubbells, okay? So put the little ones down. And so, again, you don't have to do what I say, but like I want for safety purposes. There's a few 10s, there's a few 15s. Men should take 15. Melissa and Emily can take 10. If you're like, oh, I want to do the 15, take the 15, you can. I would not recommend doing the 20s. They're like, it's hard to get the feeling. And if you feel that,
The 30.
yeah, if you feel the 15 is too heavy or even the 10, we can go back to the lighter clubs. All right. Thanks. And what we're going to probably do is partner up too, because I want you to get a chance of with the doubles. Okay. So let's put the clubs down in front of us. Okay. So now a couple rules. All right. Mindful of what's around you. Right. Especially when we start doing the side movements. So I don't want you to hit anybody. Okay. Also mindful of yourself. Okay, the first time I took the club, this is what I did. It literally came in the mail. I opened the box. My daughter was around there, right there. I brought it up, and I'm like, cool. And I went like this, and my knee went out, and I hit my kneecap. Okay, and thankfully I did not break it. Right. Second story is I was swinging my mace, and as I was bringing it down to put on the ground, I smashed my shin, and it blew up to like this. And thankfully I didn't break anything. Nothing broke. I couldn't believe it because I literally hit it like I smashed
That mace?
towards that.
But that
Might be this might be the nefarious mace.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that's why I want everyone to be careful, right? Safety first. All right. So Eli had a good question. We're gonna start in single hand position before we go to the double hand position. So when you're holding the club, okay, this is called the guard position. So whatever hand you have on top, it's resting on the other side. And if you think about that plank position. Like this allows you to really keep yourself tight, okay? Now, when we go to single arm, you can do what Scott was doing, like you can just hold it here. Now, here's another rule. If your wrists and stuff get tired, it doesn't mean you have to go lighter. You can just choke up. So everyone choke up, and now it makes it a lot easier to hold. Because if you think about it as an extension of your forearm, so like, there's nothing wrong with holding it here, okay? It's just not gonna be as great of a workout, but safety first. Sometimes your clients, like if you're training with them and you're like, I need you to put that down, and they're like, they don't wanna do it because they don't wanna look like, you know, they're weak. No, it's not, it's your wrist. You don't wanna don't wanna hurt yourself. So what we're gonna do is choke up where you think you need to, and we're just gonna do a couple of those front swings. So actually, before we do we'll catch them here. So we're gonna let it fall and bring it up. And now what you have to do is you have to brake, meaning like braking a car. So you have to use your body to slow it down. Otherwise, I've been hit in the face with this too. Okay, swing it. Good, bring it into place, good. Let's do a couple on each side and switch to the other hand. Good. So you don't go down as deep. Yeah, feel the hinge and feel the stretch in the hamstring. Good, Dan, choke up a little bit and bring your feet closer together. Yeah, like you're gonna feel like you're skiing, right? That's okay. That's good, Eli. Good, Melissa. Melissa, bring your feet closer together. Because you want to be able to do it, and same thing, Emily, you want to be able to do it so you have room on either side, otherwise you're going to hit your knee. Okay, good. Good, Sam. Good. A little bit, choke up a little, Melissa, on the club, just because it's flipping up, and that's because your wrist is starting to get tired.
Can I use chalk?
Yeah, absolutely.
My hands are greasy.
Put it, when you're ready, when you need to rest, put it on the ground. Don't hold it like that. Yeah, put it right on the ground.
You do feel how much, like, when you stop here at the top, like how much your wrist,
Yeah.
wrist
And
flexing here is like really
that will
hurting
go
your wrist.
first. And that will go first. Your client will be like, yeah, man, and they'll grab the big one and then like go in there breaking their wrist. Like you can break your wrist.
The grip to,
Correct.
well, eventually. I'm
So
sure.
we talked about lacrosse, right? This is awesome for lacrosse. Like you can do all your big regular exercises and then you throw in club work to like build wrist stability. I mean, you're gonna be able to, and you're also gonna be able to connect what you're doing rotation wise.
Rotation, that's all.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Right now, we're just working in that sagittal plane or in the pitch, like the pitch up and down. Let's do a couple other things before I teach you the side movement. So grab your club, doesn't matter which hand's on top. Okay, now we're just gonna do a simple squat, right? And squat, keeps it in line, coming back up. Now we're gonna make it more difficult, press out. So we can see how it feels. Bring it back. Good, and then bring it back down between the legs. So again, what you can do, you can train all your big six. Like we can do a squat. This is our hinge, okay? And then we can do a press out. So we did the press out at the bottom of the squat. We can also do a single arm press out, okay? If you want to try that, you can. Otherwise, whatever arm you're training is the one on top. So if you can still do it. That's pretty good, Eli. If you can't do the single press out, then just go with the double hand press out. Yeah, Melissa, good. Core, bring it back. Don't hold it there too long.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to push it back and forth?
Well, you would do like multiple reps, but it's getting a little, but yeah, be careful.
One where you can take two of them and hold them like this and go out like you do.
Do you show them that too?
Like you got two
I
of
show
these.
them.
No, you can use two, one on each arm.
No.
No, one on each arm, I'm gonna show you. So then we can do our overhead, okay? So again, here I'm in that guard position, and again, now that I have this second arm, you're gonna keep the integrity of the core, the spine, bring it over, pull it back, there's your pull. Okay, you can also, this is also for mace training, we can really work the shoulder girdle by shifting it and bringing it to the other side, and then bring it back around.
Oh, yeah.
And then bring it up here. So if you have clients that are working, as long as they're okay, like with it, like I have clients who say, yeah, I have shoulder rotator problems. So then I do is I screen them.
You're already late, cancel.
And they're doing band work, right? They're doing band work or like, Ys, Ts, and everything like that. Well, this is a little bit better. But you gotta know what you're doing in terms of watch the shoulder. If they feel pain, like this is okay. You don't, this is okay as long as there's space there to do that. And again, if they go too heavy, it immediately gets exposed, because what will happen is they lose integrity in the spine, and now they're breaking the wrists and everything like that. So then you just stand right next to them and take it out of their hand. So I said to Bill, I had a client, she was 67. She found me because she was looking for someone who did Clubbells. There was nobody in the area that did. I was the only one. So she started off with a 5-pound Clubbell, and we worked the 5-pound Clubbell for months. But she was one of those clients who would like want to take her time. But like I built up strength in her wrists, and I mean she wasn't going for weight loss. She was going for strength. So we did strength, and she worked her way up to the 10-pound club. At her age, like it's phenomenal. She can feel the difference in her grip strength and everything like that. But also like she did a lot of hinging. We did a lot of low repetition, just because if she did too much, she would probably become sore. Okay, let's do this. So we're gonna do our side movement. So everyone can keep their club belt because you're gonna get to try. Grab a light club again and bring it back over to your space. Just want to stay on time here. Okay, we're good. So before we use the club, everyone stand with a wider stance, okay? So Scott and I told you we've been talking about rotation, all right? So again, I didn't play baseball, okay? One of the reasons I didn't play is I just thought it was all upper body. I didn't know how to rotate and use my legs to actually drive the ball farther. Same with any type of stick sports. I do better in the sagittal plane, rowing, right? Because it's just, and there was a little rotation. There is rotation in rowing, but it's not the same as being able to run really fast and then all of a sudden. So one of the things we want to be able to do is we want to have good mobility in hips to play the sports. Otherwise, like if we have golfers, they start to get really tight in the hips, and they stop rotating in the golf swing, and they start using their upper body, and that's when they start having back pain. So again, what's nice about the clubs is we can train rotation without having to change the weight or put them on a different machine. So everyone hinge, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to shift your weight into one side, but still maintain. So when I shift, my hip is going back, and I'm loading my hip. I don't really feel anything in here. Okay, so Sam, get your legs a little straighter. One thing that helps me when I do this is I go back further, and I put all my weight into that one leg rather than going back. So that's good, Emily, that's good. Scott, think about hips going back more, like in a deadlift. Feel your weight in your heel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you should feel connected. You feel the weight in your heel? Dan, you feel the weight in your heel? Steve, good. Everyone be careful with the knee tracking out. So go as wide as you need to feel that. So if I want to do this, I want to feel I'm loading the hip. I feel it all here, okay? And then I'm coming back and forth. Okay, what's going to make this easier to connect to that is I'm going to grab my club. So I'm going to hold my club, and I'm going to let it, instead of letting it fall here, because it's going to hit my knee, I'm going to let it fall across my body, and I'm going to draw a line and line it up with my foot. So get your feet squared. You might want to take your shoes off. I should have asked you all to do that. Why don't you take your shoes off? That's why I'm barefoot. Because you need to feel the weight on the outside of your outside of your feet. Okay. So go as wide as you need to. Okay. And as you shift your weight, this hip goes back, and you're pointing. I'm lining up. You can see my shoulder is packed. That's good. Emily, so head down a little bit. And again, feel that load. You feel that neck. That hip there?
Yep.
Yes, good. Much, switch hands. And across the body that way. There we go. Now you feel the load. Switch hands. And now point at the other foot. Now you feel it. Right there.
Right there.
Good. 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 Awesome. Everyone did well. So bring it back up. And now just like when we did this, I want you to feel the shift and then bring it back up. You can pause if you want to. And bring it back up. So Eli, you're going to go to your opposite foot, and then just bring it back up. So shift. So wait, everyone stop. See people doing that. So it's like you're going across your body like the face of a clock. So across that plane, and then shift in, as you're going down, shift, yes, down, good, go ahead, Emily. But remember, let it fall to the side, yes, there we go, go ahead. Yes, good, you got it, go ahead, Scott. Yep, bring it, go down. Good. Good, so when you go down, you feel it load the hip, and then bring it back up, load the hip, and bring it back. Switch hands, try the other side. If some of you are having trouble finding it, it might be because you don't move in this plane that much. Eli, when you do that, go back, like, let's try to touch your tailbone to the wall behind. That's good, Dan. Good, everyone rest for a second. So what's really interesting, again, and then what's tough as us trainers is we need to be able to explain this. So who had a little bit of trouble finding in the beginning?
Don't call Randy.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh. Who had trouble finding, what was the issue?
Just bring my hips back on these, and then have it like go side to side. I always have trouble with side lunges and stuff.
Right. So again, what's nice is like you can use this as a way to like mobilize the hip. And again, you're not doing anything heavy. It's just actually moving well. Who else had it was challenging for?
I had trouble on my non-dominant side.
So again, like a way to train both sides. So you'd go lighter so that you could build that other side back up, because we all want to just go heavy, right? But this is one of the ways we use clubs is for active recovery. So on days where I'm pretty fried, like I'll just go through light Clubbell movements. Who does like light kettlebell work? So you do that in days you're like, I still do get-ups.
I do get-ups, windmills,
But light,
all
right?
light stuff.
To work on posture, because you can like push yourself into the position, and to foam roll, whatever's tight, right? So it's the same with the club movements. It's like Eli can feel tight. I'd say you should probably roll there so that you can find that hip better. Because then next time you do deadlifts, you're really going to be able to connect all the way through, not just through here. Okay?
For tomorrow.
Yeah. So let's try a couple more. What you're going to do is you're going to bring it up, catch it, down across your body, and then what we're going to do is when you bring it up, you're actually going to go to an overhead cast in this position, and then bring it back down to your hip, and then catch it again. So shift to the side, Steve, good, and catch it at hip. First catch it at your elbow, and then go overhead. So
You're kind of coming more back at like this angle.
Yeah, like overhead, but it's
up,
across.
straight back.
It's across. Yes.
Overhead across more.
Yeah, but you're looking in that direction.
Oh.
So when you shift, I'm looking here at Steve. Okay. Yep, that's good, Emily. Across the body. That's it, Sam. You got it. Yep.
Right here.
Yep. And remember, before you let it go, bring it to your body first. Okay? It's your safety. That's good. Bring it to your body first. That's good, Emily. And the way they described it was we're painting the floor, right? So we want to make sure that the top of the belt, the Clubbell is in line, goes across our feet, and we bring it back up. We want to stop here first because we have to decide if we can continue, but also it allows us to move to other things. Like if I do this, I can now go here, right? And then I can go into, and now I can go back to that. So it's nice, you always want to come back to center so that you can always move to the next exercise. All right, if you're feeling good, we're going to try the heavier weight, okay? Now again, a couple of things when you're doing these mills, right? You need to get the hips out of the way. So what I mean is when I drop the Clubbell, watch me, like I don't want to do this, right? I want to get away from it. So if my hips go back, now I can keep it away from me. I can keep it in front of me. So just be very careful as you bring it across your body, and as you come back up, push the foot into the floor. Yep, Eli, you got it. Bring it to your body. Yep. Go ahead. A little heavy or good? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let it fall, and then follow it. Yep, excellent. That's it, Scott, you got it. Spread your feet a little wider. That's it, Dan. If you find yourself muscling up with your arm, you're not pushing with the foot. Okay, you're not pushing, and it's okay because, yep, did that seem a little easier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, switch sides, do about 3 to 5 reps. You don't want to do too many because your wrists and everything will start to get tired, but this is good. That's it, Scott. It's good, Emily. Pushing, it's good, Melissa.
Didn't push the wrist this time.
That's all right. Just choke up a little bit on it, like give yourself a little more stability. Yeah, and then you have more control. But fall. Oh, so Eli, remember, let's go in the direction.
Other way.
Yeah. Yep. That's it, Eli. Good. Thanks. Bring it right to your body. You got it? Okay, man. See you later. Anybody have any? If you feel like you're not getting it, then go a little lighter, just so you can get it. Okay. Yeah. Go with the 10, Eli, just so you can have a little more control.
On that other side.
Yes. Good. So now we're going to try. I'm going to let Eli go first. So Eli, when you're going, if you're going this way, you want to go to the opposite hip. So if you're going to go that way, shift the other way.
I don't know why I can't.
It's okay. It's like, okay,
I'm
so
sure
same
we'll
hip,
do
same
it.
hip.
Same hip.
Yeah, so let it fall and then other, so you're going opposite. So
So wait, so
So-
I'm still going this direction?
you're going that direction, but you're going to shift in that hip. So I think right hip. Yes. There we go. Shift the foot. Go down. Other way. Sorry. Other, no, wrong hip. That's right. That's right. We're gonna do the two. Let's do it. Everyone's grab with 2 hands. This will make it a little bit easier for grab this. You can do 2-hand swings. Okay. So we're at the right hip. Let's everybody go to the right hip. We're gonna let it fall across our body. We're gonna pause. So Eli, you want to be in your right hip. There we go. Yes. And now you're gonna push through the foot and bring it back up. Let it fall and push back up. Good, much better. Good, now switch hands. And now we're gonna go to the left hip. So load the left hip so you can feel it. Okay, we're gonna let it fall and shift and bring it back up. That's it, Sam, good. That's it, Emily, good. Good, everybody rest, put it down on the ground.
This would be just like a cross shot.
Right,
Because you're loading,
Right.
you load up and then you come.
correct.
It's like-
Now you're not gonna swing, you're just gonna work on the pattern because you want them to be able to access that hip without thinking. So you load them up. You can't load them up in a lacrosse stick, right? Because there's no way. But like this, any of your players, like they're gonna grab the stick after this. Like if you go on the field with them at all?
Yeah,
Oh, bring this out, have them warm up a little bit.
yeah, like
And then-
baseball, like with the donuts.
Correct. Okay, so it's the same thing, but this is like when they're here, you can continue to work on that. So, all right, good. So that's the mill. Now this is what the mill looks like during the certification.
You gotta do 100 of those?
Yep, on each arm. So what ends up happening is you end up having to switch, and you can just easily switch when you get tired.
Fluidity is so cool.
And then again, like you can easily transition to front squat. So, anybody have a question?
So when you come up over, how are you transitioning that to get it back around?
It's around your shoulder.
Yes. Yeah,
So when I do this, watch me. I'm looking in this direction. It's the rotation. You have to have good rotation. So I'm actually almost turning 90 degrees. And because my shoulder's not completely square, like I can't turn my body 90 degrees, but that allows me to bring the club here, and now it's just like if I was here like this. I'm like this, and then I'm rotating and then bringing it back to the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what's happening is I'm training my yaw or my transverse plane, and so as I'm rotating, I'm doing another exercise. Okay, so it's an up and then a down. So I can train 2 different muscle groups at the same time. I'm still training hips because I need to rotate. So yeah, as you do that, bring it back up. Watch Sam. So rotate here. Okay, now as you turn, I want you to squeeze that glute as you rotate your hips across. Feel that?
Yeah.
And now bring it down. Pause. Bring it to your body. And now let it fall across your body and follow it. And then bring it, yep, and, or you can do that, or you can bring it right back to your other hip. Yep. Yep. Yep, good, excellent. Okay, so we went over the mill, and now we're gonna go over the hammer. Okay, so you're gonna grab your club, you can grab your heavier club, and we're gonna start by doing the torch press. So from here, we're gonna press overhead. It's just pretty simple, right? But what we're trying to make sure is that we have good, so pull, yeah, just heavy.
My shoulder.
Oh, be careful with your shoulder, right? Now if it's too much, then push it out in front. So choke up a little bit so you have a little more stability. Pull all the way up here.
Oh.
And then pull your rib cage down. Yep. And put it out more in front, more in front. You can put it down. You can rest. Yeah, don't tire yourself out. But we're trying to make sure, anybody ever do, what's the exercise? Hollow rock, hollow position. Hollow holds when you bring it's the same position. We want to make sure the shoulder's down. So we can load that position now with the club, okay? So that's what I want you to think about when you're pushing overhead. Pull your up, yep, yes, that looks great. Now you can bend the club bell back a little bit, activate, bring it back to straight, bring it down in front, okay? Now this one, I want you guys to be careful. So we did that side swing. Okay, we're gonna do what's called a side semi. So I'm gonna bring it up. So when I do that, I'm bringing it up and I'm pausing here. I'm firing off this, my hips are rotated, and I'm locking here. So go really choke up a lot on the club bell so you can do this. So I want you to rock back and forth between the hips, and when you're ready, bring it up and pause. Okay, lock it in, activate the core, good. Bring it a little bit closer. Yep, lock. All right, bring it down. Yeah, bring it down. Thanks, Emily.
See you guys.
Good, so you bring it back to that position.
Bye.
Yep, that's good. Now we're not gonna stay there, but I wanna just show you what it looks like. That was good, Sam. Yep, that's good. Yeah, like rotate that left hip a little more. Core, good.
It's firing.
Yep. So again, think of, we'll see you, Dan. Thank you. So the semi is just here, but then I'm letting it fall, and I'm going here, I'm going here, and I'm going here. So where people get confused is they think it's this. It's not. I'm rotating the hip. I'm rotating the hip.
It's all hips.
All hips.
Yeah.
So again, go back to the golf swing, go back to the lacrosse hold. Like they don't, when I'm doing golf, I'm rotating in the hip. I have to have good thoracic mobility. And then as I come through, I need to be able to push through and let it fly. I have to control it.
You do have to move your feet,
Correct.
literally like golfing.
Correct. But sometimes what happens is the upper body takes over, and then that's when the club face will push it that way or that way, and then they get really mad when they can't hit it straight. Well, if you load them, it's not just doing this, right? This is gonna make me stronger. It's not gonna make me stronger. I need to know what I'm doing. Shift my weight, and now load the hip, load the back hip, right? And so now all of a sudden they get onto the golf course and they have good rotation, they have good fixed, and they can actually activate the right muscles in the right sequence.
That's actually good for boxing too, because like
Yeah.
boxing,
Yes.
like, turning
It's all
your-
about
It's all hip rotation.
yeah, coming both hands,
Yeah.
like
So this is what we're not. I'm not letting any of you do that this today. I want to show it to you. So this is this is what's called the hammer swing. So it's from here. It's in that nice hollow hold, and I'm going to let it fall.
Oh boy.
So I need to be in order to pass. So you can see, like as I was doing it, this shoulder started to kind of do that. That would be no pass.
So if you have mobility issues, you couldn't even like pass the class.
Yeah, like you have. So I had to really work on here to get through it, and like they kind, a little gray area, because they just want everybody to get certified. But like if I was, now I think they're much more strict. This was back in like 2015 or something like that. So that's why they moved to TACFIT, because this was good. Clubbells was good. It introduced Clubbells to personal trainers like I'm doing today. But this is a much higher standard. They are really, really strict about the movements. And it's a training system, so not only do you have to do something like the trial by fire, on top of that you have to do the other things. And it's all timed, so if you have a certain amount of time to complete it. They want all their instructors to be physically fit, they want them to move well, and they also want to be able to handle the intensity of the training so that they can go out and do the same thing with their clients. That's why I would consider it like an elite type training program. However, like I still think for myself, like it's really allowed me to like create some variety in my clients. You know, I was over at Kinwood and I brought some clubs, and I've been using them. Like I've been using the lighter ones because you know a lot of people can't lift. They have to figure out how to move it. It exposes all the issues in the shoulder, so that's where I start, right? And if I FMS screen them, I can work on their shoulder mobility. Seated, you can do movement seated, you can do movement standing, but teaching them how to move their body. Like when we're little, we move this way, you know, because we're climbing on playgrounds. Nobody's climbing on playgrounds and doing that anymore. So this really fits in well with any type of yoga, because you do yoga, right? Yeah, so I'll just show Melissa really quick. So like think of any of your, why don't you do warrior 2? Okay, just show me warrior 2 without weight,
I know, I was just going over.
Yeah. She's like, yeah. Good. So now I'm gonna put this in your hand. Okay, and you can extend it as much as you want. Now pull your shoulders back, like, and get yourself rooted. Okay, and then what we're gonna do together is from here, we're gonna come up and we're gonna bring this overhead, and then we're gonna grab it, and now we're gonna go back into warrior 2.
Oh, that's sweet.
Okay, and you can do it this. You can do any type of added additional
And then
movement.
come back and.
Correct. Now, there's specific movements in Clubbell yoga. But let's even think of like triangle pose. So now you can come over and you can coach them because you can see where the club is. If the club is here, we're not activating. So I can come over and cue her and say, okay, now pull your shoulder blade into the core a little bit more. That's more like personal training. Come back up. That's the only thing, when I did my Clubbell yoga cert, they were like, yeah, you kind of coach like a personal trainer. I'm like, well, I am a personal trainer, but if you're a yoga instructor, you don't say, pull your scapula in.
Yeah.
You say something else. So that was the part I had trouble with.
It's more like they like, instead of you saying anything.
Correct, or they cue you.
Touch and correct.
But the club can tell you what they're doing wrong, because if, say they're in triangle and they're internally rotated, you can say, turn the club out. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so to finish up, programming, you really can program Clubbells any way you want. I just integrated it into my programming. Eli had a good conversation about probably not good for someone who's a competitive bodybuilder, because it would be good for his mobility, but I wouldn't want him playing. I know you want to play with him, you can. But you just gotta be careful, because I don't need him to tear his pec off his body, right? But definitely with strength, I usually don't do more than 5 to 10 reps. Stability, mobility, that just goes without saying. Like, as I'm watching everybody, it would allow me to really cue things, proper movement, and you find the club that's appropriate for that. Metcon, basically like, if we had time, I would have you go through a workout where you're doing like 3 or 4 exercises. The nice thing is you don't have to get a different club for every single exercise. You just have one. And actually, real quick, everybody grab a double. Actually, yeah. What kind of size do you have?
10.
10. What size do you have?
15.
What size do you have? 10. Okay, so grab a double. So you grab another 15. Scott, grab a 10. That's a 10. Grab a 15. And then what do you have? A 10, Melissa? Should be another 10. That's a 10. There should be a 15. There we go. Yeah. So be very careful, because Wielden. Jesus Christ. That's a 20.
You know that's a problem.
All right, ready? So now we're in position. I want you to try to catch. Just do your front catch.
What is that so different? They're different lengths.
Yeah, not here.
One has different lengths.
I mean, just grab it.
Here, grab the same one. There you go. This one, this one.
What length is that one?
No, you give me exactly
Oh, here's the
same.
length?
Yeah. So it's just these two.
Yeah.
And then her,
Yep. Careful, Eli.
I think you have different sizes. You're gonna we have to.
Oh, which one do you need?
Yeah, you see? It's fine.
Dude, once I'm done bodybuilding, I'm switching to this. Real shit.
That's yeah, it's it here.
It's fine. This is.
Yeah, I think they have
Alright,
master
just
club.
be careful.
Yeah.
Four clubs.
All right, now watch. Be careful, Eli. I'm gonna keep saying be careful, Eli. So come up here, alternate. You can do double at the same time. Just be very careful when you do that.
Careful.
You're really going.
Careful,
Careful, Sam. Careful. Yeah, don't do it. Eli's got it. Careful, careful, careful. Good. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down.
This is too heavy
So.
for me.
Right, so again, so here's, again, in a class situation, Melissa can do the 10, single 10, no problem. You get a pretty good workout. You're gonna build stability, strength, you're gonna build grip strength. Then you'll be able to add in the 2 for certain things. You probably can do this, but you're not ready to do that. How is that alternating?
Fine.
So
Yeah.
I would say, Eli, you keep doing alternating to protect your shoulder, but Sam is good enough to do double at the same
Because
time.
this is 15.
Ah, okay.
I was like, why is my
Oh,
leg
shit.
like not able to do
That's
this?
such a big difference.
I'm like,
So that would be like a Metcon, like we would do 15 of that. And I didn't do 15 of those in a row. Then you could say, okay, now we're gonna like do plank, then you're gonna do some mobility, like animal flow, and then come back, and it's a very holistic type of workout. Active recovery, you can do Clubbells, where we do everything slow, Clubbell yoga, we already talked to you about. Hypertrophy, this would be a debate. Like, I'm still not sold on hypertrophy muscle building for this because I don't do more than 15 to 20 reps. I think I would build muscle tone over time, but it wouldn't be like for in your sense.
Yeah.
And anytime I've used them, I haven't ever like been in that protocol. So,
I think any resistance training will build muscle tone, you know,
Correct.
to a certain point.
but it does lean you out. Like,
Oh, sure.
this really leans you out in a good way. And then whenever you decide what rep ranges you're gonna do, you just follow the same rules as you would in your certification. So like NSCA, you know, it's like if I wanna build muscle, it's gonna be, 6 to 15 reps, multiple sets, make sure the sets, I mean, I had a client doing here and 2 sets were enough because their grip got really tired. So I wanna be mindful of their grip, I wanna be mindful of their posture, and the planes of motion because as you all started, by the end of this session, everyone's really crisp. In the beginning, you're kind of like trying to figure out your center of gravity and everything like that. Any questions?
How about the maces? What do you-
Oh, so with the mace, real quick, so with the mace, so this, after training with these, mace training became very easy. Now, I can't do the same things, right, with this, but it really built up my grip strength to allow me to really, and the shoulder mobility to allow me to actually work with the mace. So, and when I first came here, we were talking about that. It's like really fun because now I have a way to actually build up my mace training because this is only 15.
It's like 50.
Looks like it's like
It's
40.
like 40 pounds, yeah.
This is 20, but both of them allow me to improve each other. So this is 35 pounds, so I can do this one pretty easy, but I can't do a 35-pound mace.
Jeez.
So I can't, and Scott Sonnen, someone claimed that he wasn't as strong as he, because he's only like this tall. Like I said, he's a rock star. He came in, he was so like, I think he's between 50 and 60 years old. He was like the most svelte guy. Walks in, sunglasses, no hair, shaved head, and someone challenged him online to be able to do the mill so do this movement that we were doing with the 45. Like this, and he did it single arm. Oh my God! But you can find it. It's like, and he has to keep it really close to his body because it will basically rip the muscles of the shoulders out. So that's where like sometimes they let you get away with like kind of bringing it across the body. I like to do it the way I was teaching you because I feel like if you can segment the movements, you're going to really build good stability. But when you're competing or you're testing, they'll allow that to stay a little bit closer, so it looks kind of like this. So it's like when they do the mill, they're almost bringing it on their body to get it across, so they can do a very high number of reps, in
It's almost
time.
like a little rest almost.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You have to do it with the heavier ones.
Yeah.
And then real quick to end, so my next thing that I want to do, and I forgot to bring them is our Persian meals. So they're shorter handle, but wider club, and they have these really like amazing like wooden ones that you can purchase. They're very expensive, but they're very like, I only have 8-pound ones. They're about this tall, really nice design. I got it from a guy down in Virginia. He makes them on
Lathe.
a lathe. Yes, thank you. But so meal training they do in Iran, and Iran it's big wrestling. So if you go online and you type in Persian meals or Iran meals, like they make it as part of their ceremony before wrestling matches, and they just do this like rhythm thing where they are using the meals and they're
How do
really
you spell
building.
meal?
What's that?
How do you spell it?
MEEL.
Okay.
So they're doing this rhythm thing in a circle, and they're like just doing multiple reps. It looks like this. I can probably do it with the 20. Let's see. So it's just they go around the head, and they bring it back, and they're walking in. I can't do it justice with a heavier weight. Let me go with a lighter weight. Let me grab. But they're doing it heavy. Like I'm doing it with 10 pounds. They're doing it like 35 pounds, and they're just shifting their weight back and forth, and breathing, and really building up that shoulder strength. In wrestling, they're trying to bring people down. And in India, they have the joris, which are much taller, which I really want, like, but I can't buy. You have to buy them from India. They're about this tall. They're huge, and you have to draw them across the body.
Is that a one-hand, is that a two-hander, or is that?
No, they
still
do
one-handed?
one, so they have to like, they need somebody else to get them into position,
Oh, shit.
and then they do that same movement that they do with the meals, but they bring it across the shoulder, and they basically have contests to see how many reps you can get. And to make them heavier, they wrap chains around them.
Oh, it sounds like fun.
So, but they don't bring it across like they do. So if you want to ever Google like meals, or Jori, or the other one is Gada mace, which is like, it's a bamboo pole with a giant, like maybe a rock or something like that, but they weight it, and like they do the same thing that we're doing here. So again, that's been around forever. Okay, this is like more commercial, but that type of training has been around forever. So it's kind of interesting to see how like all these different cultures kind of do the same thing. And for us, here it's like I wanted to show it to you because Todd and I saw the clubs at Kenwood, and I'm like, yeah, it's really cool they have them, because if we know how to use them, like we can really set ourselves apart, because nobody really does it around here. So, any questions?
Are there competitions for this stuff?
No, but we can always make a competition.
I'm just curious, I think it'd be fun. I'd like to watch clubs.
Eli, strength training is about purity, and
Better than everybody else.
I don't think so.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, this is great.